Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing today? I'm a little bit under the weather, so I may sound a little sniffly. I do apologize for all my sniffles today. I know it can get annoying. Hello, Oleg. Hello, Vinny. Hi, Scorpion. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen you in a while. Sextra, salutations. I haven't seen you in a while either. How are you? Good, good. That's good. I am just waiting for everyone to come in and then I'll get started. Again, I'm under the weather. I'm so sorry, everyone, for how I sound. I'm not feeling too great. Hi, Harrington. I feel like I am dying. I do not feel good, but I really want to do class today because I feel weird when I'm not working. Days off are really weird for me, just as in general. And when I'm not doing critique hour, I feel very, very weird. Thank you so much. I'm sure I'll feel better soon. I think my sleep hasn't been great, but I will feel better soon. I think my body's just trying to force me to rest because all that construction was insane, and my hands are still sore from all of the work that I've been doing. But it's all done, thank God. I can't believe it. A summer-long project, 3 months of work. Or was it 2 months? I don't know. Izzy Barrera, welcome. Hello. So, what am I doing here? Why am I live streaming? What's this all about? I am an art teacher, and I critique art that's submitted to my subreddit. So if you go to istarek.com and click on the subreddit icon right here, that'll take you to my subreddit. And if you also click on the Discord, that'll take you to the public Discord community. There is a private Discord community only for patrons, but there's the public Discord community. You can also submit your work there for critique. We also chill there almost nightly and sketch together. And in the Patreon group, which is the apprentice tier, I assign you homework and you guys finish the homework and submit it, get critiques. I also have my Gumroad, where I am selling currently on sale my masterclass. If you don't know how to paint portraits, if you don't know where to start, what are the fundamentals of painting portraits? What is the basic structure of the nose and the mouth and the eyes? I teach this from a beginner to advanced level, meaning that no matter where you are on the skill spectrum, you can learn something from this, especially if you're just starting out. It is an hours-long masterclass, and it starts from a simple sphere, how to render a sphere, the basic principles of rendering a sphere. How does light shine on a sphere? What does the light do on a sphere? All the way up into the fine folds of the eyelids and the eyebrow texture and the bounce line of the nose. Like that's everything in between, and you learn all that you need to know about portraits so that, you know, after you're done this masterclass, nothing sounds new to you anymore. You pretty much covered all the bases. And it's on sale at 50% off. So those are just some of the announcements, and hopefully you guys will join me for Sketchtember this year. Okay, this isn't the official announcement video for Sketchtember, but I've been announcing it at the start of every critique hour. So this is my Discord community. Let me hide my little... This is my Discord community, and we have a little group called Sketchtember down here in the old galleries or the archive. These are all the different Sketchtembers from different years, and the scroll, you can scroll forever, and you will still be finding Sketchtember posts. Each of these walls, you can probably scroll for like 3 hours. So many people join them, but Sketchtember is upon us. We are on our 4th year. So we've done one in 22, we've done one in 23 and 24, and we're doing one in 25 this year. And every single post is just wonderful. And what happens is, right here at the top, you have your Sketchtember calendar. And last year it was a nice clean calendar from Sunday to Monday. And you look at the prompt for the day, for the days of September, and you complete the sketch and you hand it in within those 24 hours. Some people break the rules, and that's okay. Everyone's schedule is different. But this is what it is. And then at the end of those 30 days, you have an amazing gallery to look back on. Look at this is one of my Sketchtember posts. I forget what it was. I forget the prompt, but I drew Bulma. Um, oh, there's so many good ones in here. Oh yeah, this was another one, old truck. This was another one of my Sketchtember posts. I did Disney and Ghibli. I completely forgot about this. I completely forgot about this drawing. And there's so many good ones. There's so many. This is another one of mine. Again, I forget what the prompt was, but I guess it has to do with caravan or something, or traveling salesman, I think it was. These are all so well done. They're so beautiful. And I really want you guys to join us this year. The Sketchtember wall will be, the text channel will be posted up here at the top. And every day you check in, you check what's the prompt for today, you do your drawing and you throw it in there. And it is hella fun. Every night I stream my drawing. And while I'm streaming my drawing, people usually hop in and tune in and do their own drawings. And it really is just tons of fun. It's tons of fun. But I will be making a special video talking about the rules, when it's going to be posted. The prompt calendar will be posted at the end of August. So sometime in the last weekend of August, 29th, 30th, 31st, I will be submitting the prompt, and I will send out some announcements very, very soon. Within this week, I'll make a video announcing the start of Sketchtember so that everybody can start making time in their mind for it and in their lives, those who really want to join. Some people have done it every year for 30 days. So every year they did all 30 days. I have. And it's almost like a religion for us now. It's really very, very fun. So I really invite you guys to join us this year. Please join. It's going to be so much fun. The more the merrier, and so many different styles. And you guys can find this Sketchtember wall and this Discord, which is free for everyone to join. There's a public Discord and the private Discord. Remember, I have 2 Discords. One is open for the public. And that is the one right beside the subreddit icon, soisdirect.com. Top right corner, the little Discord dude, and you can go there, and that'll take you straight into my Discord. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining last year. It's just so amazing at this whole Sketchtember season. It just fills you with seasonal festivity, and it's like this little holiday for us as artists, and we just focus everything on it. And it's really, really fun. And I can't wait for you guys to submit your work. I can't wait to complete the prompt and send it out there. It's always so much fun, so much fun. I can't say that enough. So let's get started on today's class. I'm sorry, today I'm a bit sick, so I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm a bit stuffy and I may need to mute and sneeze. I may sneeze and not have time to mute. I'm so sorry if that happens. Let's talk about this piece here. So it's really cool. I love the proportions are great. The gesture is great. It feels good. But I don't understand the lighting environment. I don't understand the light environment. Even the composition is a little wackadoodle because it's like a perfect square. So those kinds of compositions, those kinds of canvases are silly to me because they're neither symmetrical. They're neither cinematic, and they're neither book cover. They're not really like some kind of graphic design, patterned, abstract, sort of non-representational tile pattern. You're trying to create a cinematic moment with a square, and that doesn't work like that. Our 2 eyes are beside each other. And so the viewer needs to see as they see in the real world. The two human eyes are beside each other. They're always going to look at the world in this almost like um, elongated panorama style. Our head rotates from side to side. The human head finds it a much easier, I guess, or much more streamlined to nod your head, not nod, shake your head from side to side, right? And so we're always in panorama mode. We are always in that panorama first person mode. Um, the VR mode, right? But it's like real life. So when we have canvases that are a perfect square, what are you promoting in the viewer's experience, right? It doesn't feel right. TVs, when they were square, felt weird watching shows and movies because everything felt constricted and all the characters were too close together trying to fit everybody in. And so once cameras started having more of a wider angle, then the scenes felt more realistic. It was more immersive. So that's the first thing I'm going to fix, getting rid of that kind of almost silly closedness of the scene. Again, I'm so sorry about how sick I sound. I must sound terrible because I sound terrible in my head. And I'm just going to try to lasso these characters out. So now that we kind of touched on the composition, and I believe I selected this from the Discord community. Now that I've talked about the composition really quickly, I want to, I don't know what just happened with my lasso. I want to talk about the light environment. What is a light environment? It's the communication, the relationship between the background, the object, and the light source. And when you're outdoors in your paintings, get ready to write this down. When you are outdoors, even if it's nighttime, the background is brighter. Unless you are doing some kind of film noir, unless you are doing some kind of deliberate horror or something macabre or something a little bit on the symbolic, abstract side of the spectrum, and something non-compositional, then you can have a background that is darker. If you are deliberately trying to do some atmospheric single candle in a scene, if it's some kind of scary moment and it's only supposed to have one light source, and for some reason you're restricted to that for a book cover, or that's different. But when you are talking about this and you have a background and you want us to see the background should be lighter. That's a good rule of thumb. And you guys like rules of thumb because it's easier for you guys to remember in the thick of it, in the thick of painting and dealing with all of your paintings and dealing with all your decision making. A simple rule like that is nice, right? It makes it easy to remember. It makes it easy to follow along. And so just remember that. Make the background lighter. If at a loss, if lost, if not sure, make the background lighter. Write that back. What that will do, at least, is give you a starting point. If you make the background lighter, it will give you somewhere for your foundation, for your midtones. It'll give you something to think about for the rest of the painting. Even if you end up going darker, at least you started somewhere that helped you develop some values. If you start off with a super black background, you are restricted to whatever that black background can offer a cinematic scene. Even a non-cinematic scene if it's supposed to be something. And I think most of the illustrations of today are all cinematic, unless it's something deliberately propped reference or something flat. Most of them are deliberately flat for whatever reason. Most of the scenes you're going to look at, be it children's books or book covers, have some kind of cinematic element. Okay, so I elongated your background, and I'm going to bring the characters back. So now we have this more open scene, and I think the file is called Alaska. We're seeing very little Alaska. All right. So let's try to see a little bit more of this. So when I think of Alaska, yes, there's a lot of mountains. At first I thought these were birds, but apparently they're mountains. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the mountain range just a little bit. And I'm going to bring in a sky color that might complement this scene. Okay, and that's just going to be a nice little starting area for us. I'm just going to lock that. And I'm going to give us another starting area, which is darkening the characters in the foreground. Not so much, but there's just literally nothing explaining why his hair is so iridescent. Oh, his hair is white. That's why it's glowing. No, 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 no. Just because a character's hair is white does not mean that it has enough brightness to show itself. Excuse me. It doesn't have its own light source. White hair, white clothes, the color white in illustrations does not have its own light source. It's still going to be dark. I mean, yeah, someone wearing white in a really black environment is going to stand out for sure. It's going to be like a light gray compared to everything else. But just because something is white does not mean it has its own light environment. And you picked a pretty dark scene. So I'm going to keep the scene dark, but I'm going to still try to make the background a little bit lighter than the character. So I'm going to keep that scene nice and dark, just like you intended. They're kissing at nighttime. And so you're either going to have to bring in a moonlight, or you're going to have to make it a sunset scene for us to be able to see everybody. It's going to be very, very difficult pulling off this environment with the rules you put in. And because they're the wrong rules, because your decisions were essentially sourced in the wrong concept, we have to change your decision a little bit. Now, I don't like doing that too much, because for a long time while critiquing, ever since like 2012, people are like, hey, try to find a way to critique it without changing the artist's original design. And I said, there's only so much I can do before the design is changed, because the original decisions of the artist were made within their skill scope, and those decisions were wrong. And for instance, making the hair glow in a nighttime scene, there's no way to show that other than a gigantic full moon shining on the character. And if we're just going to ignore that, then it's going to look like a non-cinematic scene, non-realism, and then you're going to drop degrees and degrees from realism if you just make up your own light source and just do whatever you want with it. Notwithstanding, you are allowed to make your own light source as long as it's within the realm of possibility. You can't just make a character's hair glow in a blue scene. Do you see what I'm saying? This is daytime hair visibility. White hair does this in the daytime. So we're going to have to darken it for the nighttime. So now we've done two things. We've added the background. We've added a sky color. We've lowered the mountain range. And I might lower the mountain range even more. And we've darkened the characters. So let me lower the mountain range even more and reposition it so that the background is promoting the silhouette of their kiss. So see this is thumbnailing. This is when you start as the director of the movie. You're allowed to do whatever you want. Build your own universe. And so what I'm doing here is I am expanding on the environment. Oops. So that we can see this this kiss with a little bit more strength in the silhouette. All right. And so I'm just doing that. So now we have a sky behind them directly. Merge down. Okay, so now we have the sky. We lowered that mountain range. And now we have a sky behind them. In this sky, we can start bringing in maybe some sunlight, maybe a sunset that has just broken, that has just left. And so I'm going to start off with some cool sunset colors. And by cool, I mean on the redder side of things. Maybe like starting off with a pink, zooming out, and trying to place in some nice pink color. This alone could do a lot for your illustration. All right, so there's that level. And then I'm going to make a new layer and add some yellow. Oopsie. What am I doing? Right, this. And then add some yellow. And then I'm going to move down into orange and shrink it and add some orange and then really spike it up. Okay. And then I'm going to like maybe jump around and saturate that background color so it feels more night time. All right. And then now we have something happening in the scene that's like leaning on the romantic. It's letting the romantic happen. And we can still lighten. This is where your environment was before. This is how bright your characters were before. Unless there's like the studio light hanging right over them, this isn't possible. So this is why we need to darken them. And once we darken them, well, things just make sense after this. We can start messing around a lot with the rim light. Very, very simple We're just dropping things down. We're just literally dropping these things down like Tetris. We're just, these fundamentals are just dropping into the illustration just like Tetris. All right, so I'm using Dodge Tool to create some rim light wherever we have hairy stuff. So the hair, the fur, the fuzz of their clothing, all of that gets rim light. And it's adding to the romance of the scene. So a lot of these rules were cinema rules, but a lot of these rules were also, what's going on here? What's going on? Come on. What's going on? Why isn't it letting me? What? Okay. Now I know why it's not letting me. All right. So a lot of these rules are cinema rules, but a lot of these rules are also compositional rules. So I'm just adding this rim light down here. I'm letting these characters emerge from the darkness of their background. So we change the time of day so that our characters can be visible, but we kept the time of day to respect the original artist's decision. We don't want to completely outline everything, but we're pretty much mimicking that scene at the end of Pride and Prejudice when Darcy shows up at the end of the movie and declares his love once again to Elizabeth Bennet. You guys remember that scene? It wasn't a kiss scene either. It was just like this really subtle kind of romantic moment. And then I'm just adding a little bit on her face. So this is what is happening in the original layer. This is a lot of, but I still have that filter on. So I'm going to slowly delete away until I get just enough of a brightness that I get some of your old values back. And now I have these two opposing light environments, one that belongs to the nighttime, which is all of the characters, and one that belongs to the sunrise, which is all of the sun that's touching the character, right? So the brighter part of the characters. Right, and this guy with white hair is really going to see a lot of brightness, almost an x-ray of his skull because the white of the background is touching. So this isn't just some really super bright background. This is a very, very yellow environment. You can, if you want to, desaturate that sun and make it look a little bit more pale. Or you can romanticize it just a little bit and keep that purple. And on a new layer, just bring in a color mode for that pinky orange. You can do it in multiple layers. What's going on here? Yeah. Let me just do it this way. B. Okay, so then we've locked the layer. So we're just bringing in some of the pink of the environment, the pink of the sunset, and we're leaving it on all of the characters' skin, on their clothes, and we're kind of letting them share in that sunlit orangey glow. And that way everything feels like it's incorporated. Okay, and then we're going into the golds and we're throwing some in there as well, especially the one with the white hair. Okay. So now we have an environment that makes a little bit of sense. And from here, it's all up to you how much more you want to do. From here, you've met the minimum requirement. Now you can really just dramatize everything to the max. You can really just expand on all of this as much as you want and have as much drama as you want. You can add some reflection on the surface of the water. So I'm just gonna select that, flip it over. Maybe it's not one of those still waters of Alaska, but it's something. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm just going to blur the reflection. Actually, I'm going to blur it quite a bit because it's not really supposed to be a perfect reflection. And then you can add that, you know, the element that this is a body of water and there's like some land down there. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a shore, if they're on some kind of really high mountain or something like that. But there's that option. There's also the option of using some kind of combination of Gaussian blur and motion blur. So filter, blur, motion blur, and I'm just going to do that. Maybe reduce opacity. And then you also have the glow behind the characters. You have the glow in between their heads. And then you also have the option of furthering their silhouette, which is just going to keep magnifying that magic or that romanticism. And I'm just going to let some of that pink bleed right over the mountain range, right behind them, and just create this glow, a mix of pink, orange, and yellow, which is what a sunset is. A sunset is pink, orange, and yellow. You want to add some stars, you want to add some extra stuff. You can bring back those snow caps and all those different patterns here and there. But and then of course there's the crop. So I would crop this. We really don't need to see the lower half. We just need to see this cinematic moment in between them. And then there's the just this general value drop on top of everything behind them. So just something to like create a haze beneath the horizon line, just to show that the light is still capable of reaching around, and then just creating this like extra silhouette around them. Okay, so this is all up to you. That's the question you're left with at the day. How much of this do I do? How much of this do I keep? And how much has left my original story? So in my opinion, that there are, as much as there are tropes for characters, there are tropes for moments. A romantic kiss between two characters framed like this isn't going to make much sense if it's completely in the dark and we can't see the characters, and the characters are dark and the background is dark. We need something to help the viewer along to be able to see this. No scene in movies or paintings that is nighttime is truly nighttime, other than old film noir movies. But they used a lot of secondary and tertiary light, so even technically that doesn't really count because they've used enough light that we've left the black of the nighttime. But even that, let's say, if you really want to argue, that is one way that we've seen nighttime truly depicted. But that wasn't popular anymore because it was difficult to create large moving scenes. All of those studio scenes where all those movies are filmed, action movies, whatever, those green screen, big studio warehouses full of just green screen, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, are all super lit. They're very well lit, and after, in post, they'll drop the values a little bit more to match what they need. But you're never really gonna see a black scene like that, and you're not gonna see it with the characters lit up like it's daytime. You're going to see something in between. So this is the trope that we're talking about, this romantic moment, the trope around it, this kind of rule breaking we're doing with the rim light, because we're adding way more rim light than is possible. And yeah, this is what you have to go to in order to pull off the kind of moment you're trying to pull off cinematically. And I'm just reducing the orange a little bit, just so that the white of his hair really comes out. And then you can bring in any kind of ambient light that you want to illuminate sort of his arm, her shirt, if you feel like you lost too much. So we lost a little bit of that. So I just want to show you before I do. We lost a little bit of that saturation. So you can bring that saturation back. Like, it really just depends on how you want to depict this moment, but I'm trying to stick to your original kind of idea. But I guess we can just keep that like that. Let's look at the before really quickly, just to see where we were. So the sky, as you can see between the mountains, is dark blue. It's nighttime. And they're lit up with this daytime afternoon light. It didn't do much for the scene. And that's the issue here. If you want to keep that really, really long mountain, if you want to keep that really strong mountain range, that really, really high mountain with lots and lots of snow detail, you can still do that. You can do it in layers. You can make like a background mountain with some of the sun sneaking through somewhere. So let's say it's there somewhere. Okay, let's put that there. And then you can just change where all of your values are coming from if you really want that mountain. So you can make that mountain higher. You can make it so that there is some kind of city line. So if you kept the original design, let's say you turned off the sky, all of that, you can still pull off some kind of water reflection. Let me see if I can pull it off really quickly. It's going to look very Sailor Moony and very romantic as well. So let's say there's like a city. There's lots of lights and lots of... So what I'm going to do is like create like a line of like just the town, the colors of the town, different lights, neon lights, the town in the distance, and they're on some kind of elevation somewhere. And then filter, let me duplicate it. But you still need that. You still need something behind them to make it work, or else it's not possible. So Gaussian blur, and I'm just gonna blur it a little bit. Just so it's, you know, doing something. Maybe I'll desaturate. Duplicate again. And then of course there is the reflection in the water. And that reflection can be like vertically blurred. As you still have to keep them in a silhouetted state. You still have to keep them in a darker environment. They still have to be dark. There's rules you just can't break. Once you break them, you leave the world of the background. If you're going to pick a background, you have to stick to it. So let me just change it into vertical. Oh, all right. And just decrease the amount of blur there. And then like lower the position and then do a horizontal motion blur. Oops. Filter, blur, motion blur. I'm fighting a lot of muscle memory right now. So we just do one initial vertical blur and a motion blur to the horizontal side. And then we can delete away at it for that water. And we delete the shoreline silhouette. And then we add the bloom of the city line. I don't know if Alaska has a city this big, honestly. All I see on videos of Alaska is that it's that it's just really rural and like one house and there's an eagle on the porch. Like that's all that I have ever seen of Alaska. Excuse my ignorance. But I think the mountains here are kept, really it's up to you how you want to pull this off. But either way, no matter how you end up going about it, you still have to respect that there is a necessary amount of blue and the necessary amount of darkness in the values of your characters. You just can't get away with this. You have to do something to make it make sense. And so this is where it was before. So let me flatten it. There's different versions. This is where it was before. And this was the sunset version. Yeah, this is when I started meddling with that. All right. So there's different versions, but all of them need the characters to be of a certain blueness in order to work. Okay? And where you had it before, the biggest mistake is that the characters were too bright and the background was way too blue. You need to make the blue of the environment involved in the characters' colors. Or else it just doesn't make sense. There's no north and south in your image. There's nothing that can give the viewers some idea of what time of day it is, or what the characters are experiencing, all of that. There's just really nothing that is helping them understand the scene. Hello Creation saying, welcome. Oh, your aunt. So I'm just gonna clean this little edge right here. And do you guys have any questions about these changes at all? And then I'm just gonna move into this 14-day challenger. So 14-day challenge, what is it? It's you're drawing a portrait every day for 14 days until you get better at portraits. Why is it good to get better at portraits? Why is that important? Because your portraits are one, a great educational playground for you. They are where you go to learn most of the fundamentals you just saw me use here. Believe it or not, even silhouettes are understood in portraits. You understand your light environment a lot better when you have an object you can manipulate and a background that is directly related to your choice of midtones. That's essentially all those are the first maybe 5 steps of painting a portrait. So all of those fundamentals I just covered, you're encountering them right away in a 14-day challenge. A portrait is really important for character design, for book covers, for all kinds of illustrations. Usually we're drawing humans or some kind of humanoid because we are humans. So there's a really good reason there. So that's it really, and it's fun. And portraits are really, really, there's so much psychology in studying portraits, which I really love as well as a student of psychology myself. So I always recommend, please jump in there, do 1 or 2 of them and try your hand at painting a portrait. Do it for 14 days, submit it to the subreddit, get a critique, and then do your next one as soon as you get a critique. Critiques are vital because they teach you that as much as you think you know, there's something you missed. And even someone of less skill than you can see it and you can't. So what are the issues with this 14-day challenger? So I'm not sure if you intended for the eyes to be looking forward, but they actually look like they're looking down. And the iris is very small for this face. So I'm going to select it. I also did some other changes really quickly. I shrunk the head in the canvas. And I also enlarged the canvas vertically. And so that all will help you. I think I did. Did I adjust the size of the canvas? I'm not sure. That will help you kind of not feel so claustrophobic while you're drawing. So once we get rid of the pupils and the iris, what do we notice? Well, these eyes are huge and these pupils were tiny. And even if we were to adjust them so they match, they still don't feel like they make sense with the size of the eyes, because look at the eyeball and then look at the pupil. So these eyeballs are gigantic. So once we get rid of that, we can see you actually have great structure. You have a good bone structure for the brow bone. The nose looks good. I do not understand right here what's happening with the Cupid's bow. You kind of outlined it. Don't outline it. We only need one thing under the septum, and that is the shadow of the septum. We don't need anything else. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going through the motions and adding a highlight for what's left of the septum, sure, but I'm adding a nice block underneath what's left of the, Cupid's bow, but I'm adding a shadow for what's under the septum. That's all you need. And then that shadow gets blended out. And I'm blending out these patches here. So your painting style is very patchy. I wouldn't say it's painterly, I would say it's patchy. Patchy is very different because patchy shows a sense of inconsistency and what's the word for when someone can't make a decision? Indecisiveness in the artist. Whereas when it's something's textured, deliberately painterly, that's very deliberate, and that's a lot of decisiveness. All right, and so I'm cleaning the edge of the nose just to get rid of some of that patchiness and the bumpiness in the edges, because this is an overlap edge, meaning that the background is the face and the nose is the foreground. And under each nostril is a shadow. You guys forget about that one. And so your noses look like they're melted into the face, but the noses actually wing around the face. They're in front of the face. They have seams. Not literal seams, but they look like seams from where we're standing in front view. And so we need shadows under each one. And this is typically what I'm doing all around. I'm leaving that textured, I feel like your eyes texture is a little bit more long than the rest of the texture you've depicted. So your eyes are a higher skill than the rest of the face, which is usually what all artists show in their portraits. Their eyes are drawn at a much higher skill because they were drawn first and eyes were perfected first. For most artists, eyes are like the thing they really focus on for a good while. And they're one of the first things they try to draw well. And so this shadow that's drooping along the edge of the nose, you don't really need that. What you need for the nose to show that the nose has elevation, actually, let me do that with my blocking brush. All these brushes are on my store and they're also on sale. You just need highlight to make the nose look elevated. You don't need shadows because that's not going to give the nose definition. What will give it definition is elevation, meaning that the nose is catching light. How else to show that something is high than it can catch light? All right, that was a bad sentence, but you guys know what I mean. All right, and then I'm just adding a little bit more of that right here. And so it's catching the light it's supposed to for a nose. The lips are also doing this pucker thing, but if that's the style you're going for, that's fine. But we still need some kind of shadow on the edges of the lips. And so I'm adding this, it looks like this kind of like shadow. And I'm doing it radially, meaning they're radiating from a central point that's super sharp. Sorry, that's my bird. Sophie. Shh. No. And so we're adding like this elevation, this depression right here to show that there's some muscle sitting around the lips, that it's not just a lip with no lip corner, because they're one and the same. The lip is the lip corner. The lip is part of a huge hole in the face, meaning that it's going to show that even when it's closed, you can see that this is something that is not stitched together. And so we need to see that in the way that you've depicted it. I'll talk about your contrast in a second, and then we'll show the irises once again in the before. And I'm just blending my blocks while trying to preserve your painterly texture. See this patchiness here? That's indecisiveness. That's not texture. You're using the wrong value in the wrong spot, meaning you're kind of hover rendering. You're kind of just lost yourself maybe in your thoughts while you were drawing. I like the way you textured this eyebrow, but you seem to have done something else with this eyebrow. And I do that a lot. And in the end, I end up referencing my own eyebrow. Like not my personal eyebrows, like the eyebrow on the other side. Because sometimes drawing two sides, it's like two different artists drew them, especially if you drew them on separate days. And so just reference yourself. Look at how you did one and go to the other. I am getting rid of some of the detail at the end. Don't over detail eyebrows, but I feel like what you did here is near perfect. They don't need to be competing with the focal point of the eye. They don't need to be doing any of that. And I'm just blending away a little bit in that area. And then I'm also going to like strengthen that lower structure of the eyelid and find the inner corners of the eyes with some highlight. So you added highlight, but it wasn't related to the structure of that inner anchor of the corner of the eye. This is a very important detail for drawing eyes, this little area that catches light. It makes the eyes feel complete when you draw them. Make sure you don't ignore them. The waterline being over detailed all the way up into the innermost part of the eyelid, this waterline being visible all the way inside is very overrated. The only place you really need to show off the waterline is right here along the fattest, chunkiest part of the waterline, where it catches light and it's thickest. Okay, and then we're going to add a core shadow for the eyeball and a cast shadow for the eyelids. Two very, very important shadows here. Okay, and so the core shadow of the eyeball, this is a very big eyeball, so it needs a pretty visible shadow. I mean, we're not going to be able to like not see a core shadow on an eyeball this big. we're going to be able to catch that detail. It's not so high traffic and clustered in there that we can't catch that. And look at this three-dimensional quality it gives the eyes. Isn't that crazy, you guys? So before, after, before, after. One core shadow can do all this. All right, and then we're going to do a cast shadow, also on a darken layer. For the lashes, this is a very thick lash line. We're not really going to blend this one. We're doing this one with a smaller brush, and we're kind of letting it get darker towards the top. Another really important shadow for making eyes look realistic. Okay. So before those shadows, very flat. Do you see that? And after those shadows, very, very important. So we put those back. And then we're going to zoom out and talk about that neck, which is very, very small. It doesn't have much structure to it. So how do we fix that? Well, I guess I can, let me see if I can liquefy it. So the neck and the jawline, have you ever like messed up your neck muscle and just talking hurts? That's because that whole muscular structure is all interconnected. And the way you've depicted where the neck starts, it almost looks like there's no muscle at all. There's no fat. It's just something in the backdrop. And so what we need to do is expand that neckline. See, this is why I don't want to do it liquefy, because it makes a mess of it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just expand the neck, just widen it. Oops. Okay. And then I'm also going to give the neck a circular silhouette. I'm going to make the neck look like it's a bust sitting on a table. And that really helps you with the rendering of the neck. It helps you remember that the neck isn't just a flat piece of paper, that it's actually a very obviously one of the most obvious cylinders of the face. It's a very prominent cylinder on the face. Okay, and I'm just going to tuck that back up there. And I'm just going to find a nice spot for this neck to sit. And then just delete away. Actually, just shrink it a little more, so it makes some sense. And you can make the neck a little bit longer as well, just so it matches that jawline. You see, before it was just tiny. It was just a little bit smaller than it needed to be, almost like it was childlike, or the head was very large, like a childlike body. And I'm just going to clean up my edges here and merge everything together and clean up some more. Okay, and then I think you have a really great core shadow on the lower half of the face. I think everything is looking great. You're not sharing too many values. This is a very, very well done portrait. But as soon as we show where the eyes were, which were somewhere down here, then things look a little bit weird again, because the uncanniness kicks back in. The pupils and the iris were way too small. The iris was way too small, and it didn't really match the structure of the head that you were going for. Here it looks realistic, and then when we turn these back on, it suddenly drops and points for some reason. It doesn't look realistic anymore. So why is that? Because we just did something that's uncanny. We did something that they do in movies when they want to make a character look like a horror type themed character. And that is they shrink the size of the iris, which creates this uncanny human but not quite human look. And so when you enlarge and you push up on the iris, then the eye starts to look like it's looking forward, which is leading us to another topic of discussion. When you want to make eyes look like they're looking forward, make sure that most of the iris, Most of the iris, yes, but most of the eyelid in this case, for now, is above the inner and outer corner symmetry line. What does that mean? That means that this line right here that I create between the inner and outer corner, the eye has to basically sit most of the ways above that line. It can be on the line. We're not trying to make the eyes look like they're rolled back completely, but we're also trying not to make them look like they're looking down with that like kind of too much upper eye white visibility, because that's what makes things look like, you know, it's like a horror portrait or like extreme expression or something, again, leaning into the uncanny. Most of the times we see people's eyes with some upper eyelid covering them, which makes them look like they're comfortably adjusted to the interior light or exterior light around them. If you're outside, people are almost always squinting. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is the basic lighting that we're creating here. We're creating like just a very moderate light source. So this character looking forward shouldn't have too much of a squint, too much of a downward look. And so when we turn these back on and we make them look forward and we delete away at what's not visible, now she looks like she's looking forward again instead of looking down. And you'll see what I mean. I'm explaining something that should just be displayed visually, which is why I do the before and after. There's only so much I can do with words. And so this is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm about to show it to you. Sorry, my bird ate my pen, and so I'm struggling finding a button that actually works. And I'm just making it so that she looks like she's looking directly at me, the viewer. That's how you want your characters to look. You want them to look like they're engaging with your viewer, and that's when things start to look realistic. Okay, and then I'm just going to complete that lower portion of the pupil of the iris. And now it looks very realistic. And the one thing I'm going to fix now is going to be that outline of the lower eyelid. We really don't need that. It's so overrated to outline the lower eyelash line. In fact, it's damaging the realism. The lower eyelid should be noticed but not seen. You know, it shouldn't be something that is drawing so much attention. If you want to, you can add some lash indication, but it has to be in a very almost abstract way. You're not actually trying to draw the lash line. We just call it a lash line because of the formation of the hair in the area, but you don't actually want to depict it with a line because you're immediately flattening the face. You're going right back into symbolic eyes, and that's how that happens. And then I'm blending away. Believe it or not, I blend my lower eyelids all the time. They should be noticed, but they shouldn't exactly just, you know, be up front and center like the upper eyelids. The upper eyelids, on the other hand, are the main attraction. And I'm just lightening the outsides of the eyes. And I'm preserving the presence, but not letting them be too present. And then I'm trying to like keep the that bleeding of the light down underneath the eye that you had. And I'm also not trying to make the eyes look sickly, so I'm adding a brightness on the upper half of that lower eyelid to give them that almost that healthy plumpness instead of that sunken in sickly look. Unless that's something you're going for, which is very different. And then I'm going to bring in a soft brush now that I can see where the irises are, to bring in that healthy level of white in the eyes. We don't want them to look bloodshot, but we also don't want them to look like big bright lights or like a lighthouse. We want something in between. And now that I'm here with the white, I'm going to kind of expand on the waterline highlight as well. And then from a distance, I can see that the upper eyelid is catching too much light. It should catch light. Its job is to catch light. But I'm going to kind of disrupt the edge of the crease of the upper eyelid on the inside and cast some shadow on top. The crease of the eyelid at the top isn't sharp all the way inside the eye. Like it's really sharpest right here where you have the eyeball butting up against the brow bone. The same thing on the outside. And sometimes with my soft brush, I like throw a soft brush of shadow over like everything except the bright points, because the eye is part of the sunken in space in the skull. It's completely it's a hole. So there should be some of that whole imprint left behind. Okay, and so there's the iris and the pupil, and then let's see what was left. And I think that's it. That's all that I really wanted to cover for this portrait. Let's take a look at the before and after. So before, and then this is with the crop, all of that extra stuff. Okay. Select, flatten, and then paste. So before, after. So do you see how before the irises were very, very small and the neck was very thin and you had that shadow, that patchiness I was talking about? And you may have thought you did a front view facing eye, but they were looking down. And it's hard to tell when you're on your first couple portraits that have eyes. It really is hard to tell. But eventually, after some time and some references, you start to pick up on how to make an eye look like it's looking forward. But the secret will always be track where the inner and outer corner is. And that'll show you where the eye is looking. So connect these two edges together, inner and outer corner of the eye, this corner. And you can see, oops, should have done another layer. Okay, you can see how most of the iris was beneath that line. Most of the eye, in fact, the weight of the eye, the entire thickness of the eye was underneath that line. And then over here, we can see that most of it is above that line. Really, really subtle changes, but that's what being a professional at portraits is. You become a master at subtlety. You start thinking about all these subtle little things like, oh man, this was so subtle. How could I have ever figured that out on my own? Like how do like this is something that would have taken me trial after trial. Well, that's what critiques are for. The person, even someone who doesn't know how to draw, who's not an artist, will say, what's she looking down? You know, she's looking down. I feel like she's looking down and thinking. And the artist is like, no, she's supposed to be looking forward. And there's the critique. You see that another person is interpreting your mistake, which was perfectly normal to you, through the eyes of, you know, even a non-artist can tell you. Because you're drawing portraits. Non-artists are very skilled in portraits as well. They see them every day. So get your critiques, or else you're not going to pick up on these professional level tricks, not tricks, just knowledge really, that will make your drawings like jump in skill, like phenomenal jumps in skill in a short amount of time. That's what critique does. So here there's a huge skill gap between the before and after, but the work gap is there's no gap at all. It's like a couple brush strokes and a couple changes. So why torment yourself with years of private training, not letting anybody critique your work, when you can learn this in one quick subreddit critique or critique from me? So don't forbid yourself from getting critique. Don't build up these weird obstacles. Don't let your ego crush your ability to improve in a short amount of time, because that's so unfortunate. You could just be seeing amazing, response to your work and amazing improvement in so short a time if you start getting more critiques in your life. So before, after, and those who are willing to give you critique, respectful critique, of course, are your friends. Those people, those are people you want to keep around. So subscribe to me, please. and leave behind some likes. Thank you very much. I deserve it. I'm kidding. So that's it for today. We have this critique about light environment and building a better scene to give the viewer something to look at while also respecting the light environment of your background. You're the one who picked that background. And for this one, just get some critiques so that you can see some of these things that you're not seeing, so that you can see where you need to focus so that you can do that amazing jump forward in your skill. Thank you guys for coming today. I have a whole portrait masterclass on sale, and it's everything that you need to know about portraits. It's everything that you need to understand before you start jumping into them. And I guide you through every last brush stroke. And the list is right there beside you. There's a written list version of the class to watch along with the class. They're meant to be watched and read together. So the list is supposed to be open. You're scrolling while the class is happening on the video. And I teach you how to structure the nose. What's the polygonal equivalent of the nose? What's the shape you need to practice to learn how to draw lips? What's the main shape for the head? Where are the main blocks? What is symmetry? How to blend with a soft brush? How to block with a blocking brush? I give you both brushes in the pack as well. This is where you need to go to learn how to draw portraits, and I've poured all of my skill into it, and it's on sale for the rest of the summer. The sale will end by the end of summer. So if you guys want to get it, it's on sale for 50% off. And if you want your work critiqued, please go to my subreddit community right here. This is where I select work to critique. And also on my public Discord, this is where I selected today's pieces. I selected the 14-day challenge from the subreddit and the nighttime illustration from the Discord. And please join us for Sketchtember. Sketchtember is approaching. We draw every single day. I stream all the days of September. At night, in the evening mostly, I will stream my Sketchtember sketch. The prompt will be released on the 31st. I'll upload a video on both my channels soon. Please subscribe to this channel, but also go show some love for my old ass channel. I feel really, really sad. I want people to know about my other channel as well. And please share it with your friends and family. And that's it. Thank you all for coming. I will see you guys on Tuesday next week at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, guys.